All day and all night.
This is the Glenn Beck program. There's a couple of things that I want to share with you. First of all, we're going to have Rudy Atala on with us. He is the guy who is really running this operation for the Nazarene Fund overseas. He's a remarkable man, absolutely remarkable. He's been working 22 hours a day. He won't, I shouldn't, he's going to be mad if I would say this, but I think you should know. He won't take any money for it. He's like, this is my service. This is a mission. His family escaped from Lebanon as persecuted Christians, and they got out to safety. And he literally just can't sleep knowing that other people are going through what he and his family went through. And he's working tirelessly, and he really is the Oscar Schindler of our day. What he's doing for the Nazarene Fund is truly remarkable. He's going to be on with us. I want to get an update from him on what we can talk about. I know that, I'll let him talk about it. We had a hairy situation happen this weekend that is, I mean, the Taliban is back. The Taliban is back. But we'll also have him hopefully comment on that Politico story where the FBI is coming and meeting with everybody. So
my understanding, the Taliban was new and reformed and was actually helping people now. They're the good guys. They're actually a wonderful security force, which made just one mistake while doing. It was sort of a large mistake.
What was the one mistake that they made?
I do remember them allowing suicide bombers to.
Oh, that was the mistake.
Well, that was because the Taliban was providing security for that. If you remember,
you know what's weird is all of those people that were providing security at the gate. Mm-hmm. They all must have gone to the bathroom when that bomb went off because none of them were killed.
Wow, that's
you didn't hear that anywhere, did you?
You
didn't hear that. No, it's weird. No. It's weird how that just didn't make it anywhere. But they were all. None of them were killed.
Very fortunate.
Very fortunate. Especially since it was an ISIS bombing, and the ISIS hates the Taliban.
Oh yeah.
So there's no. I mean, they must have been really disappointed because I'm sure that's who they were targeting. And they were like, "Oh shoot, no Taliban victims." Maybe next time.
I don't know how long this can go on, where we pretend as if the Taliban is going to.
We're in pretend city. Have you heard the latest? Democrats now are claiming that they were the ones fighting for schools to be reopened, and it was the Republicans that wanted the schools to remain closed.
In the United States?
In the United States. This time around. I want to be very specific. Just recently.
Like COVID-19.
COVID-19.
The Democrats
were the ones that were fighting to open all of the schools, and it was the Republican. We are in fairy tale city. I mean, honestly, do people believe this stuff? Is that how stupid we are?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either.
I feel like they do. A lot of them, and it makes me want to just kind of unplug the country and give up. Is what it makes me feel like doing.
Yeah, don't do that.
Not the right choice.
Not the right choice.
It beats you down because, how can anyone believe that? Did anyone pay attention for the last year? Has anyone paid attention to anything for the last year? That's it's just saying up is down.
It's not an inside out. That's weird. Almost like you don't recognize your country. It wasn't a small story either.
This is the Glenn Beck program.
Thank you so much, Hillary. Appreciate it. Let me tell you a little bit about Built Bar. Every day I wake up and I jump. More inflation numbers coming your way. Also, in rural Texas, a hospital might have to stop delivering babies because of the Biden vaccine mandate. But we all are for that, right? We're all for the Biden vaccine mandate. And you know what, ladies? You live in Texas. That's the price you have to pay. So cross your legs and hold that baby in until we all are vaccinated. That's just the way it has to be. This is insane what's going on in our country. We'll explain in 60 seconds. As parents still had to go to their jobs. How would moms and dads manage to not get fired while watching their kids all day and serving as de facto teachers? In some Democratic-controlled states, politicians didn't seem to care. National statistics show that whether a school district was closed for an extended period was correlated less with how severe coronavirus was than the political power of the unions. Shortly before the pandemic, Virginia state legislators expanded the power of public sector labor groups. And few states, children miss out on for more than months of crucial learning than Virginia's. Virginia was really, really bad. So what is this saying? It's saying that this was all about the teachers union and how much power the union had in your state. Now, the first post-COVID elections are at hand, and Virginia has the unusual practice of holding elections for governor and the state legislature during odd-number years, and early voting opens September 17th. And Democrats are now attempting to erase recent history that every parent lived. They are now claiming in Virginia, the Democrats, that they were actually fighting to open the schools. They used the phrase favored by the teachers union that they wanted schools opened safely. No, they didn't want the schools open. We wanted to get the schools back on track, opening safely. No, they didn't. Are we this stupid, Virginia? Are you that stupid? I still want to say no, but I am not sure anymore. I'm really not sure. Is this some sort of black magic hold? I mean, you want to talk about zombies. Oh, you talk radio audiences, they're zombies. They just agree with whatever the host said. No, they don't. Believe me, I know. Talk radio audiences are really, really tough on the host. If you are inconsistent, if you don't know what you're talking about, audience will kill you. They will kill you. Okay? It will be over for you quickly. Do you remember when we first started doing talk radio? How tough it was? I'd come home every night, say, I can't do this. I can't do this. This audience is way too smart. Yeah. Way too smart, and they're killing me on everything.
It sucks. It sucks because usually you can just tell people things and they're not going to remember what you said. They're not going to pay attention to you. Talk radio audience, they remember everything you say.
I know.
They always remember. Always. They always point out all your inconsistencies.
You said back in March, I think 17th, 1997. You said, you're like, what?
This is why we should have done a liberal show.
That's right.
Because then you could just say things and they don't care at all.
They don't care.
You could just be like, yeah, you know what? Today we're for, what is it? I'm sorry, the relationship between you and your doctor is really important. I think is that today? Or is it that, the government must be involved in all your health decisions?
That's what it is.
It's one of the two.
Yeah. Well, and we're fine with it, and everybody in the audience, well, there's nobody in the audience of a liberal talk show.
That was one of the reasons.
That's why they don't hold people's feet to the fire, because no one's listening to them. Mm-hmm. And I think that is kind of by design. They like it when nobody is listening. This is what happens if you unplug from the news. People, I hear this all the time. I'm just going to unplug. And I understand that. I really do understand that. But this is what happens. They can convince you of anything if you weren't watching. So, Virginia, were you watching? Were you there at the scene of the crime when the Democrats and the unions colluded to keep schools closed? Because that's what happened. Are they going to get away with it? Now, let's go here, because you know what? Our hospitals are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed. And the ICUs, oh my gosh, how are we going to even get people into ICUs because they're so full? People who are having heart attacks and cancer aren't able to go in and take care of their cancer because there's no beds available. Now, is the shortage of beds or is the shortage of nurses the problem? Hospital staffing shortages are occurring all over the U.S. as a result of the federal COVID-19 vaccine mandate. Now, maybe it's just all of the crazy people that are nurses. Is that what that is? All these anti-vax nurses that we have all over the country? Because that doesn't seem to make sense to me. You're anti-vaccine and anti-science and anti-people. You want to kill people, and you're a nurse? One of those things doesn't belong. So it's not that the hospitals are being overrun. It's that we now have a shortage of nurses. And Joe Biden came out over the weekend and said, you know what, we'll just hire foreign nurses. Oh, okay. Maybe we can get jobs for Haitians. There it is. Jobs for Haitians. I don't know if you've noticed this, Joe, but a lot of our nurses are from the Philippines and from all over the world because I guess we don't want to do that job anymore. Is that what's happening there? I guess nursing is below Americans. I'm not sure. But the last thing I want the president to do is say, you know what? We're going to bring in some nurses, and we got some good ones from Germany, yeah? Let's not do that. Let's not do that. What do you say we stop hammering people that have a different opinion? My body, my choice, liberals. My body, my choice. You get the government out of my arm.
Can we point out, at least quickly here, that the twice now, the Biden administration has done something that has taken a large increase in vaccine doses where people were going more often and completely reversed it.
Oh, yeah.
First of all, the Johnson & Johnson pause. Mm-hmm. This was the government doing this. Mm-hmm. They did it. Remember, they paused it for 12 days and then came back and said, yeah, no, there was no reason to pause it. So that they're by their own admission, they didn't even put a warning on the vaccine after this. Mm-hmm. Okay. And that was literally the peak of vaccination in this country was that day. The day before they did the Johnson & Johnson pause. We were up at something like almost 4 million doses per day, and then it came down consistently right after that. It not only affected Johnson & Johnson, which has almost disappeared in use completely, but also Pfizer and Moderna. So, again, forget what you think about the vaccine. If, in theory, what you're trying to do is get more people to take it, that was the most damaging decision in the entire run of the vaccines. That particular thing.
Second most. At the time, the first most.
Yeah.
Now it's the second most.
Well, I don't know. It depends on scale, how you want to rate these. But we have just gone through, from mid-July to mid-September-ish, we went through a 2-month rise in vaccination rates. Very underreported. No one talked about it.
Yeah, no.
We doubled the amount of people who received vaccines per day.
That's crazy.
Okay. Guess what happened on September 9th, 2021?
The vaccine mandate.
No. Of all things, why would you have a vaccine mandate after you just spent 2 months doubling the amount of doses? You're complaining about how no one's taking the vaccine, but more and more people are taking the vaccine. He does the vaccine mandate. We have now lost about 60% of the gains of those 2 months since that day. The second he came out and said, vaccine mandate, way less people have been taking the vaccine. It's almost as if that was actually not the goal, to get more people vaccinated.
Oh, it's
almost.
So clearly not the goal. Look at it. You want to save lives? You want to save lives. Okay, all right. Then let's not get rid of all the nurses at the hospital. And if you do that, at least have the courage to admit it. That, by the way, the hospitals are being overrun now, not because of this dramatic increase, but because we have a shortage of nurses now.
And you're going to tell them that if a nurse who went through the entire pandemic working every day, like 24 hours a day, risking their lives when there was no vaccine, We allowed them to go work that whole time, but now that we have a vaccine and some of them don't want to take it. It's a minority, but it's a significant minority, and they don't want to take it. We're going to tell them, hey, yeah, it was okay for you to come out and work this entire time and risk your life for the past year, but now you can't come to work anymore. Is that fair?
Yeah, you are the greatest. You're the heroes.
Yeah.
You're the
We're clanging
heroes.
our metal pots,
Yeah.
our pots and pans.
You're the
we love
heroes.
you. Get out.
You should pay. By the way,
insane.
To see people treated the way these Border Patrol people on horseback treated horses, almost running over people, people being strapped, it's outrageous. Biden continues, I promise you those people will pay. There will be an investigation underway. No, wait. There will be one underway. No, that sentence doesn't work, Joe. There either is one underway or we're going to start one. But this sentence, there will be an investigation underway, doesn't work. There will be an investigation underway now, and there will be consequences. There will be consequences. So now let's attack the few border guards that we still have working. Maybe we can get them to quit too, or we can just fire all of them. It's almost as if they're planning chaos. It's almost as if they are agents of chaos. Gosh, who's the author of all chaos? I'm trying to think. It wasn't Tom Clancy, right? Author of all chaos. Who was that? It was somebody.
Somebody famous. I remember
somebody
it. I've heard
really
of it. I've heard
famous.
of it.
Yeah, I knew it as a kid even. It was so famous. Anyway, I don't know who the author of all chaos is, but it's almost as if they are trying to cause chaos. All right. Let me switch gears. Now that you're set for it, let me switch gears. I don't know if I've ever said this on the air. Did I ever reveal that every morning between 1 and 3, it was either 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock a.m., every night for about a 5-year period, I woke up and took dictation. And that's where a lot of the stuff that I, predicted came from. I've told you for a long time, I'm not smart enough to figure all that stuff out. That was God. That was not me. All the mistakes are me. I believe in personal revelation. I believe that you can have personal revelation. So this is not something that you can't have access to. I think it's just depending on what our jobs are and if we're willing to listen. And I think the reason why I was woken up in the middle of the night is because my brain was really kind of shut down and I would just listen. And that stopped about 10 years ago. And it started again on Saturday. And I want to tell you what I feel prompted to tell you. In fact, urgently prompted to tell you. I'll do that in 60 seconds. Stand by. I believe strongly that we are all here for a reason, and we all have our own roles to play. And somebody said to me once, do you read Ezekiel? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, I feel sorry for you. I said, because of Ezekiel? The prophecy, if you're on the gates and you can see over the horizon, all the blood of those who could possibly hear the warning will be on your head and your hands if you don't warn. That is one reason why I do warn. It's a big reason why I do warn. And what you do with it is your business. And if you dismiss it, that's fine. You think I'm a lunatic, that's totally fine. Maybe I am. But I just tell you what I believe to be true. And there is going to come a time when our founding documents, and when I say that, I mean the Federalist Papers and everything, that they are not going to be able to be found. And you must preserve them. Now, this is something that I knew in 2008, and that's why we had Mercury 1. We've done a really good job in preserving as much as we can. However, I don't think that's good enough anymore. You must have a copy of the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers. You need to have some of the founding documents on how it works. I would include with that the Founder's Bible by David Barton. It is the Geneva Bible that our pilgrims had. And speaking of that, the other thing I feel compelled to share with you is something that was shared with me about 10 years ago. And I thought it was just for me, and it's not, or maybe it's not now. Prepare for a time when you will not have access to scriptures. I have interpreted that as memorizing as much as you can. But prepare for a time, in China, you're not allowed to have them in some sacred texts. In the Middle East, you can't have it. The Taliban now is checking people's iPhones, and if you have the Bible app, they execute you. But I can't believe that we'll see this in our day, but the way we're proceeding, we very well might. So I have done my job. What you do with it is up to you. But please preserve American founding documents and books. Preserve them, keep them safe, and prepare for a time when you won't be able to access your scriptures. Memorize them, study them all the time. All right, coming up in just a second, I'm going to give you an update on Afghanistan and some good news of what's happening because of you. Next. This is the Glenn Beck program. The guy who is running the operations for the Nazarene Fund overseas, this particular rescue operation over in Afghanistan, I think, is the Oscar Schindler of this moment. His name is Rudy Atala, and he's working 22 hours a day, every day. I don't know how he's keeping up with everything, and every time you try to talk to him, he's got 14 different crises that he's trying to work through. Thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us, Rudy. I know you're busy. God bless.
God bless. Thank you, Glenn. Much appreciated.
So I wanted to see if you could give us any kind of update on what is happening overseas and what we're able to do, or if there's anything.
We're on rescue operations are still ongoing. Things are not moving at the same pace as before. The Taliban is taking control and trying on one side to show that it is a legitimate government, and then on the other side, of course, it continues to do all the things that we know the Taliban does, lopping off of hands and hanging people, killing people, raiding people. So we've been operating in this environment, trying to be extremely careful, but we continue to find Americans. We continue to find people that need our help. And then in that process, we haven't stopped getting people out of the country. It's just gotten a little bit slower than before.
And it's not like we're going around looking for them. There's many still in safe houses, or can you
Correct.
say?
They're scattered in safe houses in various regions and areas. We talk to them directly, and then when we get names, we're very careful at taking names and getting solid information. We do our own vetting process on the backside of these individuals. We make sure that they're tied to other individuals, people that we know of or have heard of. So we do our due diligence. And then once because the Taliban's trying to infiltrate many chat groups, many organizations that are are doing similar things. So I'm extremely careful with my guys on how and who we rescue, just making sure that what we're doing is proper.
And did you see the Politico article that came out this weekend, Rudy?
I did. Yes.
It was saying that the FBI is going around, and if this is true, and I just don't know what to believe because of the Justice Department today, but I agree with what they say their mission is, and that is to go into all of these groups and make sure that nobody's ripping people off, that nobody's, human smuggling, et cetera, et cetera.
100%. And I think it's necessary to do so. Unfortunately, we have a lot of groups and organizations that jump into these things, out of the goodness of their heart, trying to do the right thing. But there are a lot of steps that need to be taken. The first thing I did is when we started this whole rescue operation is I reached out to our legal team that specializes in working with the Office of Foreign Asset Control, or OFAC. And I sat on the phone with 3 lawyers, and I said, please advise OFAC what we're doing and how we're doing it. So we went through multiple iterations of that, and we are covered by OFAC. I made sure that OFAC knew exactly what we were doing, who we were dealing with, how we were moving money. The official answer for me from our lawyers basically said that OFAC officials have indicated that they would not take they would take a non-enforcement posture with respect to anybody dealing with evacuations currently out of Afghanistan, but we have to be careful where the money goes to and who it goes to. So that's another end where I work closely with our finance team to make sure that every single dollar that we move is going to an entity that's well known. It's, that there's nothing nefarious going on there, and everything is reported. So we are above board, but we're one of the few organizations that has done that. I've done this in Syria when we operated there. I've done this in other countries, and I'm very particular about this area and just making sure that all our T's are crossed and all our I's are dotted for every reason. I mean, the last thing we want is DOJ breathing down our throats for doing something stupid.
You were in charge of the Somalia evac for the government, weren't you?
I was not the person in charge, but I did work the Somalia evacuations in 92, 93, correct, yes.
And what other ones have you worked?
I've worked Liberia, I've worked Ivory Coast, I've worked on Sudan.
So you've seen these many times up close and personal. How does this one compare to ones that you've seen before?
I would say compared to what I've seen, this one was an utter disaster. I mean, it's on a scale never seen before, because normally when you do a non-combatant evacuation or a NEO, it's fairly well, organized, because the delegation goes to the Department of Defense essentially to take in the right measures, because you're basically a country goes into almost a chaotic stage or combat zone. And the Department of Defense steps in and has very specific measures in what they do and how they do it, and they work closely with the State Department. In this case, everything was flipped upside down. It was the State Department in the driver's seat, and the Department of Defense had already pulled out. It was backwards. and this is why we got into the mess that we're in today, and now we're still picking up the pieces. And I unfortunately feel like we're going to be picking up the pieces for many years to come.
This political article says one person familiar with the call said the FBI doesn't want groups offering bribes or paying the Taliban to evacuate people from Afghanistan, as those practices raise human trafficking concerns. Further, this congressional person said one of the groups that received a call was Glenn Beck's Nazarene Fund. Beck has brought attention to his organization's activity, praising Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan on Twitter for acting on his willingness to assist. Nazarene Fund didn't respond for a comment. What are they saying here? That
They're mixing two things. So we never ever get into any bribes or paying anybody. Again, every single penny that we spend or pay somebody, we make sure that our OFAC lawyers know and that we're above board. The Imran Khan piece was necessary. When we looked regionally for people that can influence the Taliban without money, the only regional actor that was able to do that is Pakistan. Essentially, if you go to you have different Gulf countries and other countries that are dumping money on the Taliban. We stepped away from those countries. Mm-hmm. The only country that did not offer or does not offer any bribes or money is Pakistan, and they carry a big stick. Now, a lot of people feel uncomfortable with Pakistan because of its past, but unfortunately, the way things have unfolded, there's no other real big actor in the region. The State Department and our government did not leave us any choices of they're not helping us in any way move people. So what we did is we simply asked, through proper channels, for Imran Khan to see if he can weigh in and allow the Taliban to allow our people to go. But there was no money exchange. There was nothing. It was simply a letter-to-letter verbal. You addressed it on air, and that was it. And they made a few phone calls, and certain things happened, and then we were able to get people out. And in our case, we've been able to get very high at-risk people. We've already gotten the leaders of the underground church out of Afghanistan. We've gotten That's an announcement. I knew that.
Can you make that? Can you clarify what that was? This is a big deal.
Yes, I mean there were leaders of the underground church, Christian church, that were stuck in Afghanistan, and through proper channels, we were able to get them out without them being whisked away, and all the promises that the Taliban wanted to catch these people and burn them and their families alive publicly. Thank God they're out of harm's way, and we worked hard to do that. But again, we had to use diplomatic channels to pull these people out. There are Americans we pulled out. We promised to Britain, and we got Americans out. We've gotten at-risk women out, and it took a lot of effort. And there are things that we could not talk about at the time that it was happening because it was extremely sensitive. Everything we've done has been above board, and we've never, there's nothing hidden. There's nothing in terms of back payments or whatever. None of that happens.
Yeah. As a member of the board, I know that we have been very, very clear. Nothing, even the appearance of anything that is not right. We want to stay a million miles away from any of that, and just trust in God that He'll make things happen. One more thing, Rudy. I heard this weekend, and this is going to embarrass you, but it shouldn't. I've heard that you are unwilling to take any salary for what you're doing. Is that true?
Yes, sir. It is true.
That
yes,
is, first of all, you got married, I think 6 days into it. You've barely even seen literally barely even seen your wife, and you just got married, and now you won't take it. Salary. Why?
Well, it's the proper thing to do. First of all, I'm blessed that I have a wife that's very understanding. She said, just go do what you need to do. And when the dust settles, then we'll just go out on a honeymoon. And she's been awesome and very supportive. But I'm not taking a salary because I feel like if I was in people's shoes on the other side, I would want somebody to reach out to me. And yeah, I grew up as a Christian in Lebanon. I was a persecuted Christian. I know what it's like to be on the other side of the fence. And for me, it's personal. I want to make sure that, the people that we help are people, we're helping desperate people. I always cling to Proverbs 24:11. The Bible is very clear about helping those who are stumbling to death or to the slaughter. And from my heart, all I want to do is rescue as many people as I can. And, given the fact that you and I are tied together and your listeners are so generous, we were able to do some great work. And I think we still have a lot of great work to do. And I'm willing to put everything on the line for it.
You're a good man, Rudy. You're a very, very good man. We're blessed to have you working with us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for everything.
God bless. I would ask that you would keep that man in your prayers. And if you would like to donate, we could still use your financial help. Nazarene Fund, the NazareneFund.org or Mercury1.org. All right. Our sponsor this half hour.